All right, next up, Jalen McMillan, wide receiver, Washington, 6'1", 197 pounds, 10-inch hands, 32 and an eighth inch arms, 77 and 3/8 inch wingspan. He's 22. He'll be 23 in December. He had a 4.47 in the 40, a 1.53 10-yard split, a 4.18 20-yard shuttle, a three-cone of 6.94, 127-inch broad jump, 37-inch vertical. Last year in 11 games for Washington, he had 45 receptions, 559 yards, and 5 touchdowns, 3 rush attempts for 30 yards, and an additional rushing touchdown.
So McMillan was part of that trio that Washington had of really good receivers that you knew all of these guys were NFL caliber receivers, but it's clearly Rome Odunze is the lead guy.
Sure.
And then there's these other two guys that are really solid as receivers as well. But are they really good college receivers? How high in the NFL could they potentially be? Obviously, people are moving Jalen Polk up as we just talked about. But it's funny because Jalen Polk and Jalen McMillan got very, very similar scores for me. Now, they don't win the same way. They play very, very different games, but they both were in the 69 point range. So with McMillan, I think he was solid as far as like release. His hands were real solid. He ran decent routes. I don't think I would call them great routes, but they were a little bit above average as far as route goes. Solid catch radius. And like that, I don't want to keep repeating myself because that's what it feels like. His entire thing is like, this is solid. This is okay. This is solid. This is okay. And that's what most of his profile feels like to me. The bummer is somebody of his kind of profile, I was hoping to see a little more burst, a little more speed, a little like something to make all of those other attributes more exciting. Because if he's solid at the catch point, if he's got solid release, but man, this guy can motor, like he can move. Now I'm pretty excited. But he was kind of just as far as his game speed goes.
He's fast enough.
He's fast enough. and that's the thing. Like
He's fast enough.
All of it just kind of just felt like it's good enough to be a good college receiver. But I don't know if it's good enough to really ever make an impact at the NFL level. So
NFL level is a big thing because that's how I came away watching him as well. I was like, man, I have a hard time watching this and then seeing Jalen McMillan winning in the NFL. Like
he was like a slot guy 96% of the time.
He was
almost exclusive.
Somebody on Twitter said today, like, hey, you should really watch this 22 film because he was hurt most of 23. I was like, oh, okay.
He did miss, I think, 4 or 5 games or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and maybe that had something to do with it because, and I'm with you, it's just like, oh, he's a nice, like, he does everything nice, but it's kind of like, man, like, that's not, like, if you got a good cornerback that's on him, like, he's not winning then. So, that's the problem. Like, I don't know how that's going to work in the NFL when
he's going to be working against number 2s and number 3s because that's what he's going to be. So, I mean, that's a
But still, a number 3, though, is like a high-end college quarterback. Though. That's the difference here. And that's what I'm kind of worried about with him. Because you're right. Like, he tested out pretty well. You know, I thought his vertical was kind of – I thought he had a bigger – for how big of a broad jump he had, I thought he had a higher vertical. That was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Everything else was really good. I mean, 37 inches is still – a lot.
Yeah, dude. How high did you?
I don't know. If you're jumping broad jump like almost 11 feet, I feel like you're gonna be over 40 inches. It's just me.
Yeah, he's an odd one. I don't know. I do think there's a little bit more there than I think you do.
Okay.
But because I thought his route running was pretty good. I thought he leveraged defenders pretty well. He's able to get open, which
big hands.
Given the fact that he isn't the fastest guy, I think that kind of speaks a little bit to his route running ability. But I don't know. He's okay with the ball in his hands. He's not great, but I think he can do a little bit of do some stuff, make a guy miss occasionally. And I thought he fought through some arm tackles. So I think actually the run after the catch stuff might have been one of the higher grades I gave him. No, they're mostly just 7.
Yep. 6.5, 7.5, 6.
Yeah. The ones I really knocked him are, contested catch because I didn't really see many.
No.
And then release because he was 96% out of the slot. I had it lower, but then I watched the Oregon tape where he was
that's what raised it up for me.
Yeah, he was getting pressed a bit, so I got it up to a 6. I was like, okay, he got out of that pretty well. At least average, but before it was down quite a bit lower, so that's what I think pulled his grade up a bit. But he is very even keel and 7.5. I thought he was apparently quicker and had some good bursts because I gave him some high scores there that might actually need to come down a bit because I don't think he was an 8. I put an 8 for burst. But he's getting open somehow. So I'm going to have to dig in on that because it's either route running or he's got pretty decent bursts. So
he's going against a third quarter cornerback in college too in the Pac-12. So
that is a good point.
I'm not going to take up airtime talking about him. I just don't think he has much of a shot at being relevant. I gave him a 69, and usually that means I shouldn't worry about him. So,
yeah, one of my least favorite prospects that I watched on tape. Because, again, I don't know from a fantasy perspective, how he's going to win. I just don't see it.
Yeah, he's likely going to be a third wide receiver on a team, right? That's
best case.
Or a fifth.
Okay.
That's best case.
All right.
All right, moving
Matt,
on.
what was your score on him? Sorry.
It was like a 71-ish.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So you like him a little more than we do.
Yep. It's your Tez Walker, baby.
He is my Tez Walker.
You like Jalen McMillan then?
I do. He's my guy.
Okay.
All in.
I'm all in.
All in. Move over, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Peter, which was my new tattoo?
What number was Jalen McMillan?